Welcome to Prepping for the Studio. If you're a musician or musical artist that wants to learn more about what goes on, how to prepare, or how to make the most out of your studio session, you're in the right place. Hello, and welcome back to Prepping for the Studio, the podcast for musicians who want to learn more about what goes on in the studio, how to prepare, and how to make the most out of their time and money. I am Roy Silverstein, and I'm joined by my co-host, Brian Scheuble.
Hey.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm pretty good. Sun's shining outside.
That's good. It was kind of raining and cold yesterday, but
Yep.
Back to sunshine in San Diego here at our studio, Rarefied Recording, where we record all these things from. We're in season 2 of the podcast, and that means we have guests. And today, I am happy to have Danny Kalb on.
Woo!
How you doing,
Hi.
Danny?
Good. I'm good.
This is great to have you. Brian, you know Danny from even before I knew Danny.
Yeah. Well, Danny just said 2006, somewhere right around there.
Yep, 2006. And the studio I used to work at, The Boat, which was owned by the Dust Brothers, I believe it's now owned by Fleet in Silver Lake. We had a racked pair of Neve, like vertical compressors. Like they're kind of like 33609s, but they were vertical. I forget the number on them.
Yeah.
They weren't like a traditional fit anything, and they were on their own like case. And they said on the side, property Brian Scheuble.
Yeah.
So the whole time I worked at The Boat, we always had this thing sitting on our credenza with your name on it. And I was always like, I wonder who that is. And they must have bought it from you at some point, or you sold it to someone.
That's weird. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
they
Or
must
did
have.
they steal it from you? No
'Cause
kidding.
I think I bought it from the Dust Brothers because I met somebody in the parking lot in Silver Lake. It was weird.
Oh,
It was
really?
one of those weird deals. But
Very drug deal-esque.
yeah, I remember going to the parking lot and I thought he was a guy from the Dust Brothers studio, but I could be wrong. And I had those for quite a long time. And then I think maybe I have it backwards. Maybe that's where I sold it, is in the parking lot.
Maybe, yeah, because it was there the whole time I was there.
Okay.
Like, from like 2003 to 2006. Then when I met you, left that job to work on that A Fine Frenzy record that you were engineering.
Yeah.
And that's when I met you. It was really weird going from there to then meeting you. Like, oh, that's Brian Scheuble.
That's pretty funny.
The man behind the name
The Neves.
on the Neve compressors.
And then know you, Roy, from working at your fine studio.
Yes, I can't remember what years those were, but you came down and you worked with Hyrie, a local reggae band, and did some overdub sessions here.
I think it was 2016 and 2018 or 19, give or take a year. On
Something like
both
that. Yeah. But I mean, going a little back into your backstory, you're an engineer, you're a mixer, you're a producer, right? Even a songwriter. Yeah. And how'd you get going in all this?
Like everyone grew up, if you're in this, you're obsessed with music. So that goes without saying. My family loved music, but there was no instruments in the house. My parents were like, just had music playing all the time. And half of it I didn't like, half of it I did like, but just, everyone in our family loved music. Started playing guitar in my late teens, went to college, started getting really into guitar. I'd say about the last 3 years of college, I was just in my room, holed up, practicing guitar. I bought an MPC and a Juno 106,
Cool.
turntables, was messing around with like sampling, just making music, playing guitar and making music like all the time. And every successive year at college, I was just like, I can't imagine doing anything else. And then I graduated with a business degree, and I'd had an internship working for Hasbro in Cincinnati, toy company. And I was like, that's like the dream gig.
You're from
And I was
Cincinnati?
miserable. I'm from
Ohio.
outside of a very small town called Bucyrus, Ohio,
Okay.
like an hour north of Columbus, roughly 3 hours from Cincinnati.
Okay.
Very, very rural area.
Okay.
Very rural area. Like middle of nowhere.
Did you get a job at Hasbro doing music related things? Is that what you said?
No, not music.
Okay.
It was just I was in a business program. They had like a co-op program where you like go to school for a quarter and then work for a business for a quarter. And like kind of the dream job everyone wanted was like the Hasbro job, working for like in their marketing department.
Okay.
And I got it. And I worked there for a summer. And guess what? I was miserable. Like it sucked.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? If I'm not happy working business at Hasbro, I'm probably not gonna be happy anywhere.
Yeah.
So I just, continued through college. I graduated, and then I was like, I've got to do something in music. I graduated in 2001. There was the internet. It wasn't that great. It was hard to find information.
Yeah.
And I think in maybe a guitar magazine, there was an ad for like a music school in the back, and to learn like engineering. And I was like, that's a way to stay in music. And I didn't even know, I just thought I'd love being in a studio because I like being in my room playing guitar and like making beats and sampling. I was just
Yeah.
like, well, that's a natural extension. The irony is when I went to the school, like I enjoyed it, but I also kind of realized as I was doing it, I'm like, I don't know if this is actually what I want to do. But I just kept on going, got an internship, or I moved to Los Angeles. I tried getting internships anywhere but California. A lot of people I know always knew they're going to move to California and like do it. I had no idea what I was doing.
Okay.
And I tried getting a job with David Fridman in upstate New York. Guy works with the Flaming Lips. That was like my dream
That would have been cool.
internship right there.
Yeah.
But the internship department told me basically the only way you're going to get an internship to graduate is to move to LA. And when I say graduate, like I enjoyed the school I went to, but it's a trade school. It's not like the diploma actually is like, you know, a degree.
Right.
So, and they told me not to contact anybody. They'll handle the internship themselves.
Okay.
And I'm like a rule follower.
Yeah.
But before I left the school, like I found an email for the Dust Brothers. I messaged them. I found Eric Valentine's email, messaged him. I'm like, if I could work with one of those two people, I would be so happy. Moved out, got an internship at a studio called Studio Atlantis that's now defunct. While I was working there, maybe after 9 months, the Dust Brothers basically reached out and they had an opening, and I got hired and started working with them at the beginning of 2003.
You got to ask.
I was kind of like their house, like assistant engineer, like at first more assisting sessions, but then like, you know, some sessions it's like a gray area. Like sometimes you do more, sometimes you get engineer credit, sometimes you're an assistant. But when they'd come in, I'd engineer for them. And the reason they hired me and another guy named Adam Mosley was they had this really nice studio that they had bought, but they never used it. It was just sitting there paying the mortgage for it. And they're like, well, we might as well open it up to the public and make it like a commercial space.
Yeah.
So it was the Dust Brothers studio, but like, you know, 80% of the time it was like outside sessions.
Okay. Gotcha. But that's pretty
and
cool.
Did that for almost 4 years.
Yeah.
Got asked to be a programmer on a record in 2006. It's when I met Brian, and that's when I became like independent.
Okay.
And then just, you know, just growing over time, mixing, recording, producing, just, you know, peaks and valleys.
Yeah. And I mean, but while you're working with the Dust Brothers, you got to work with like Beck and stuff, right?
Yeah. Like, I started working there. By the way, Beck was like my hero, like in high school.
Oh, wow.
Like, I mean, he was like my favorite artist in high school, like most of college, and like still love him. Wasn't as like, you know, fan crazy as I was like in high school, but still, I started working there, I think January 2003. And towards the end of 2003, they said, hey, Beck's going to be coming in the studio to like have like a meeting. And I'm like, what? You know, and they were having like an initial meeting, like playing each other music to talk about doing a new record. And they started that in like the spring of 2004. And before I knew it, I was like working on a Beck record.
That's great.
And it was like, you know, a control room about your size. And it was just like me, Beck, and the Dust Brothers in a control room for like, it was a little broken up, but I'm guessing like maybe 7 months.
Gotcha.
It was like 24, then 25 on that record, which is just insane.
Is that the record I would keep calling you and saying, Danny, great job. I love this song. I'm on my walk. And or I'd text you or something.
Yeah. I think it was. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you've worked with some other.
I mean, anything that's good about it's obviously because of them, not me. But
well, I'm sure
you had a hand.
I helped. I helped out. You know.
Right.
Totally.
Yeah. Was someone like Beck, do you think that they come in prepared for the studio, or are they kind of even like winging it or figuring it out and struggling a little?
I mean, if you're familiar with Beck, he's so eclectic. He's made so many different records.
Yeah.
And I can only speak to the one I worked on with the Dust Brothers, but he's done very live-centric records. I'm sure he's very prepared. This was more like a hip-hop session where it was like the Dust Brothers were coming in with tracks they had made.
Yeah.
And he was writing to them.
Okay.
And like adding stuff and then, you know, morphing them, they become something else. But it was kind of, he was writing in the studio.
Yeah.
Like that's what so much to the 7 months was him like working on lyrics.
Gotcha.
Like just workshopping ideas over and over and over. Yeah.
So more, like actually music made in the studio.
Yeah.
The good old days of budgets.
When there was budgets for that stuff like that. Yeah.
That was fun times.
Yeah. I mean, hey, if you have the budget, sure enough. But what we talk about is trying to not do that. Because no, that's not the way. No. Yeah. Yeah. And you've worked with some other notable people too. Like who else? was Jack Johnson or something like that, or
I've done some things through Ben Harper. I've done a lot of work with Ben Harper,
Ben
like
Harper,
I think maybe 5 records with Ben. And there's been a couple songs that Jack's been on that like I worked on. It was never in the studio with Jack.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But like
it was Ben Harper
yeah.
I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, man. I mean, so there's no real theme to this episode. We just wanted to get more perspectives from different engineers and mixers and producers and stuff like that who've been out there doing stuff at high level and what they've seen, you know, musicians coming in doing well or not doing well. What are some ways you've seen common mistakes that and hang-ups artists are having that are kind of mucking up the process for recording or mixing or anything?
It's so tough. I don't know. It's so all over the place. And like, I think I've always been a very, maybe to a fault, like a very just like go with the flow person and just like never try to make people feel bad.
Yeah.
And just accept the situation. And I think as time goes on, things are more kind of like scattered. Like, I think the thing I'd ideally like to see is that bands work together, like get in a room and work on, like rehearse the music before they go in the studio, even if it's for weeks, and have your parts like generally worked out.
Yeah.
Like there's always gonna be room for, you know, beautiful mistakes or changing things on the fly.
Sure.
But you know, if you can be 90% there, like if you know what the bass line you're going to play is, like the core bass line or most of the lyrics, most of the melody, all these things, that is very ideal. And then you can still change your mind in the studio, but I've worked with a lot of people who go in and they don't have those things. It is frustrating, but ultimately, I guess this is kind of like my core belief is like, the only thing that matters is the end result, like the final 2-track thing that you upload.
Right.
And honestly, as stressful as it can be, some of the best things I've worked on have been things where people are woefully unprepared and they're forced to create in the studio. It takes way longer. It's way more stressful.
More expensive for the artist.
Ultimately, you know, like if it ends up being an amazing record, I don't care.
Right.
And that's kind of even like back to that Beck thing. Like they didn't go in like, oh, these are the songs, you know, here's a piece of paper with the chord progressions, all the lyrics. It was all done in the studio. You know, that I think that record's really good. That's happened to me so many times. I still think it is worth preparing as much as possible. And ideally I would like that. I just think if they're not prepared, they need to know it's going to take a lot longer.
Yeah.
And they need to temper their expectations is the main thing.
For sure. Yeah. Good it's going to definitely take longer and you're going to spend more money and all those kind of things. So you have to be prepared for that. If you're not prepared for the studio, you've got to be prepared to pay a lot of money and spend a lot of time in the studio.
I mean, I don't want to spend forever making a record, but I'm on the producing side. I'm a slower person anyways. I'd say like mixing, I'm probably like an average guy, like, you know, not too fast, not too slow. And then I'm also doing a lot of mastering and I'm like, I feel like I'm a pretty fast mastering engineer, but producing, I'm slow. So I'm kind of like, I can preach to the choir about these things, but then I end up going really slow working on records and wanting to, you know, turn over every stone and try every option myself.
Gotcha.
But I think it's like a feedback loop of like, well, the band's not sure about what the main guitar part is. So like, well, here's an idea. Well, we better try more because you don't have a locked in part. So then we end up trying a lot of ideas. Then I have more to sift through.
Yes.
My brain kind of does work in a sample mentality a lot of times, you know, like, I mean, that's one of the reasons I saw the Dust Brothers as a fan of like, you know, early hip hop and like Public Enemy and like collage audio. And I think I have that part of my brain that's kind of traditional musician. Like I can play a little bit, but then also like kind of a hip hop mentality. I'm just rambling. I don't know where I'm going with that, but like, I'm kind of like acclimated to like people throwing out ideas and being, oh, you just played for 4 minutes. You did something for one bar that's going to make the perfect loop. You know?
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's different kinds of producers, right? Like there's the Rick Rubin that sits in the back of the couch and kind of just the vibe master or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, people who get very involved in songwriting and helping write the songs, people play on the records. Like, where do you fit in as a producer amongst these sort of different types?
Definitely not Rick Rubin. Like, I mean, I wish I could be the vibe guy and then hire an engineer to actually do all the work.
Call it in.
Check in every once in a while. Yeah.
Pretty nice way to work.
I've never been in the room with them, so I don't know. But I mean, for me, like so much of making a record is the pre-production part before you go in the studio. And I think that is kind of what I was saying. Like the more you can prepare going into it, the better it's going to be. And even if people aren't prepared with every single part, like I want to go in knowing as much as possible. So like people send me iPhone demos of them like singing acoustic guitar, like playing a song, and like I might in just raw time, not to a click, obviously. And like I might take that, import to Pro Tools, like chop it up, put it in time, play around with different tempos, send it back to the band like, hey, here's the song kind of in time. Here's at 73 beats per minute. Here's 75. What do you think? Let them live with it, because the last thing I want to do in the studio is be like deciding the tempo in the studio.
Gotcha.
Because those first days are pretty emotional. You're kind of stressed.
Yeah.
And I feel like the more I can average out my decisions over time, the more accurate it's going to be. Especially with tempos. I feel like that day to day is such an odd thing. So doing pre-production where I figure out tempos, it's like I can live with it for a week. Just check on it once a day. Like, yeah, 75 seems good. Oh, today 75 seems a little fast.
Interesting.
And then just over time, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I think it should be 74. Whatever. Same thing with keys of the songs. Doing the same thing, import it. Like maybe like, hey, it's gonna sound a little squirrely, but I'm just gonna pitch shift up everything or down a half step.
Okay.
So at least we know what tuning we're going to be in, what tempo. Along with that, like the demo might be a beautiful song. Maybe there's no bridge, and I'll just mock up a really quick bridge, something really fast. Like maybe it's just a chord progression that changes, no melody, but like, hey guys, why don't you, like, what do you think of this? What if you filled this in, wrote some new lyrics, a new melody? I'm never going to a situation like trying to specifically write like, hey guys, I wrote a section, but like I try to prod people into doing more writing.
Gotcha.
Or just, like, I think this song is really strong. I really like the chorus melody. The verse is cool, but maybe try writing another melody, or pointing out some lines instead of being like, hey, why don't you use these words? It's more like, why don't you try to top this verse so you can come up something better, more descriptive, more visual.
Gotcha. You're kind of, prodding people by noticing where maybe there's some weaknesses and be like, I think this could be better. Work on it.
Yes. And never, I mean, maybe I should be more of a hard ass, but I'm always more like everything cloaked in compliments. Like, I really like this, but maybe it could be as good as the first verse.
That's good psychology.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just not, ultimately, I will not stop until I'm totally happy. So there's a part of me that's like, is a hard ass, but I'm never going to be like a jerk about it. But I'm also never going to accept something that I think could be better. That's another reason why I think I take longer. I have like a very high bar for myself. And ultimately, like making a record, it's like, obviously the clients have to be totally happy.
Yes.
But I have to be totally happy too. And it's like, there's some give and take. And maybe not every single moment is you're totally happy, but in general, like, I want to be very proud of it. Like, I don't want anything to come out that I think could be better. I've never shortchanged something like, and that's to my own fault.
Right.
Like, I don't charge by the hour. So I usually spend way more time and just eat a lot.
Yeah.
But ultimately it pays off in the end if people love it and they want to work with you again and they suggest you to other people. And
right.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So making
that's specifically like a producer mindset.
Yes.
I don't really get hired to just engineer anymore.
Gotcha.
If I was an engineer, like just engineering, everything would be totally different. Like, I'd be at the service of the producer.
Yeah.
And I probably would be more concerned about like time and efficiency.
Right. That makes sense. But as a producer, it sounds like the demo is very important. Like getting even an iPhone, like voice memo. Yeah.
Sometimes I like that more because it leaves it more open to like anything. It depends on the band, obviously. If they're a band that's already kind of eclectic and track to track instrumentally, it could be like anything, like almost a hip hop mentality. Then it's kind of cool to get a very broken down demo. If they're a band where they've got a very signature sound, sometimes it's nice to hear the other people's parts. At the same time, sometimes it's easier if you have a stripped down demo because there's kind of limits to what can be added because there's going to be keys, drums, whatever.
Gotcha. You kind of manipulate things instead of sitting in the room with the band, which maybe are you doing a lot of remote production kind of stuff with people?
I mean, during the pandemic, I did some remote production, which was like, everything turned out good, but that was like frustrating, like back and forth. It was hard.
But outside of that,
outside of that, pre-production is always remote. I would love to like fly in like a week or two early to work with someone and just like sit in room and hash out ideas,
Mm-hmm.
or even a couple days, honestly. That never happens. Maybe sometimes I'll get a day,
Mm-hmm.
but even then, if I have like a day to hang with the band, it's more like making them feel comfortable, maybe talking about the music a little bit, but it's more about like
Get to
just
know
like
each other.
not showing up in the studio day one, like, okay, we're gonna make a record right now. Like, you
Yeah.
know, drink some coffee and just get acclimated to each other. So pre-production is always remote.
Yeah. Well, you know, that makes sense in this day and age when maybe you're working with people all over the place. So we
Yeah.
have the tools to share files and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense.
What about as a mixer? Like, what are you expecting from a client to successfully mix for them without any hiccups?
Probably the main thing is, I mean, every single thing you get sent to mix, there's always something that's less than ideal, and that's fine. Like,
Mhm.
there's always gonna be a bare minimum of things you have to like sort out. I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
The kind of the main thing is when people are kind of self-producing and they send it to you to mix,
Mhm.
but then you end up kind of not fully producing, but you're having to think like a producer and like
Mm.
maybe like I don't know, just same thing with mixing. Like I really care, and if I know something can be better, I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
Like, I'm not gonna just automatically pick up a guitar and like play a new part.
Mhm.
But if I think, you know, if there's playlists and it's Pro Tools
Mhm.
and there's like a lackluster vocal performance, I will go through and like swap out words or lines.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I will tune stuff, you know, discreetly, invisibly.
Yeah.
I'll cut and paste stuff. Like if there's just sloppy parts and it's a repetitive part, like I'll fix timing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all kind of par for the course. I know you guys know it.
Yeah.
And a little bit of that's fine, but there's some projects where you get them and it's like a lot. Like
Oh.
you're doing it like,
Too much.
Yeah.
of
you
that.
know, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you're just like, I think this song could be better if the bridge is half as long.
Mhm.
I would never send people my first mix and be like, hey, I chopped up your song. I'll do the mix and, you know, write an email like, hey, love the song. Here's mix one. And then send them another email like, hey, here's just an idea I was playing around with. I kind of think it's cool if you chop the bridge in half, and then send them like mix two as an option. Like,
Gotcha.
like if you don't like it, that's fine. But I just wanted to present this to you. I think that's one of my biggest things. Another thing is just kind of like not cleaning up tracks, like,
Mhm.
you know, just
Kind of the engineer's job, whoever was working on the session, to try to deliver something that doesn't have a lot of just blank space with maybe it's like people just their
room noise
and
Yeah.
them whatever, making a
Yes.
little sound of the noise in the mic
Yeah,
before they actually
that.
sing or whatever.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, there's the other like obvious things is like, you know, it doesn't happen that often, but like sending someone like audio 1 through 45 as the track
Naming.
names.
Yeah.
I think that happens less and less now. You know, maybe there'll be a stray track or two that's like that.
Yeah.
You know, actually, one thing for mixing, this goes back to recording, and maybe you have different opinions, but there's still people who like will record as hot as possible,
Mhm.
like insanely hot, like just kind of almost clipping constantly.
Yeah.
And you just don't need to.
Yeah.
It's rarely like there's almost nothing that I've had that's been totally unusable, but sometimes you get sessions where like, you know, it's almost like they printed L2 on every track and everything's just like
Yeah.
heated. The first thing I do is go in and like clip gain down everything
Mhm.
Right.
to get it to like more of a normal level. And like just with digital audio, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Again, if it's fine, you know, when I record, like you can't keep track of everything. You'll randomly have,
Yeah.
you know, a tom track that's clipping a little on tom hits and
Yeah.
like it happens. But you can tell when people make a concerted effort where like every track is just like maximized, like you just don't.
I have the opposite problem. I get tracks where they're so low I
Oh,
can
really?
barely see what's on the track, so I have to clip gain them up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You can go both
I'd
ways.
rather have that,
Yeah.
honestly. Unless it's crazy noisy, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's just like, you know, like recording an acoustic guitar with a 57 that's 6 feet away in the living room.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, these are kind of more notes, I suppose, for the engineers that are working on tracking sessions. From a musician side, like, do you find that you're sometimes getting stuff that feels like uncommitted, like too many options on things, or is that a problem for you? Like
with mixing?
yeah, like getting stuff to mix, but then it's like there's 6 guitar mics, or I mean, again, it's kind of an engineer thing, but
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the mixing I've done in the last year or two has been my own productions.
Okay.
And yeah, it's an issue with that guy. He's an asshole. Yeah. I don't want to record guitars. It's like I've started taking like a DI and then you know 2 mics, you know. So sometimes it gets annoying like dealing with 3 tracks.
That's
I
within
don't
reason,
really
though.
mind that. I haven't had anything in a while where people are like sending me like 6 tracks per guitar part. But if you are doing that, like please don't. You know.
Yeah.
Like a room mic on electric guitars, totally cool. A close mic or 2, maybe a DI as a safety. I think at this point with me mixing, like I just kind of know right away, like if I'm going through, like I'm just gonna pick stuff and hide the other tracks, and if I really need to go back, I'll just bring it back out. I do think the DI thing on electric guitars can be really helpful.
Okay.
Like that saved me many times.
Yeah, I would imagine it could.
I have an issue with sometimes is they'll send me the DI tracks, but that's it. And they'll say, we want you to get the sound. It's like, well, you know, getting an amp sound is pretty personal. You know, it's like,
it's basically infinite. It's infinity.
I could be going back and forth playing different. Here's a Marshall, here's a Tweed, here's a, give me a.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, the commitment thing.
I haven't had that specifically, but that's back to the like people sending you stuff to mix, but they really need a producer. And that that's like.
Yeah, that one
that's a massive time suck.
Yeah, it drives me a little crazy.
Yeah.
And then you got to have the conversation with people. Like, I mean, I'm not going out of my way to like, I mute a bunch of tracks and like fix a couple things and be like, hey, I need additional production. Like there's like kind of an internal threshold in my mind. Like you have to go pretty far, but sometimes it does happen. And I don't like even having to bring that up.
Yeah.
But like, when it gets to that point, it's like, man, this mix should have taken me 1 day and it took me 3.
Yeah.
And 2 of those days were like making production decisions. It's like, I'm not even asking you for more money. I'm just like, we need to talk about a credit, maybe a little extra royalty.
Yeah.
Which is kind of often make believe anyways.
Yeah. Right.
But it's almost like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have management and they can handle that stuff pretty well. But even then, just the whole thing makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
What about references for anything from recording, mixing, or producing? Like, do you like to get those kind of things? Like, references of other artists that they're kind of going for, or is that helpful to you?
Yeah, I guess specifically for referencing, and I don't know if your podcast talks about mastering at all. I feel like referencing for me, it's kind of like a reverse order. Like referencing for me and mastering is very important.
Okay.
And then mixing, it's like, if they want to send me references, I'll check them out. I've noticed this weird thing where usually people who have references in mixing, it's often like just not even close.
Okay.
I was going to say the same thing.
like bizarrely, like, and with some really talented people where the song is awesome, the mix turns out great, and they give me a reference. And I'm just like, this just isn't even close.
There's no connection.
So the reference,
no connection whatsoever.
Reference has to be
some mood for them, but even the mood's off. I don't know. But I feel like I've noticed that happens sometimes with really good artists. It's the weirdest connection. And then producing. Yeah, if someone's like, we're trying to do a track, like, and they give a reference, like I'll check it out at the beginning. But generally in production and mixing, like I don't like going back and forth, like comparing much at all. I like to just be, I'll take it in at some point at the very beginning, then maybe never check it again.
Gotcha.
Mastering I find is really helpful to like kind of toggle around. I'm sure you know about that plugin Metric AB. It's a plugin alliance.
Right.
One of the best plugins. It just kind of gives you an average. Like if you can make essentially like a playlist of different songs, and it could be like wildly all over the place. It could be like Taylor Swift, Kendrick Lamar, some big country artist, Deftones. And it's kind of neat to like just quickly like listen to 10 seconds of each and then back to your master. Just see if you're in the ballpark of like, volume, tone, EQ, dynamics, vocal level, all these different things. I feel like that's a really good reset for me. So I really like it for mastering.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, but you basically were saying, like, if you are going to give a reference for producing, engineering, mixing, it ought to be something similar to what you're doing as an artist.
Or if you at least give me like text that says specific, like if it's nothing close, it's like, maybe it's like, hey, I know this sounds nothing like it, but I really want to capture the emotion of the singer or something like that,
Okay.
But I feel like, yeah, like Brian was saying, like when I do get the very specific, we want it to be like this, it's like never close.
Yeah, it has to make some kind of sense. It can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't pick and choose. I mean, it helpful for me as an engineer is sometimes people will be like, okay, we like the drums of this record, we like the bass of this one, the vocal of this. Like that's useful to me.
Yeah, totally. I don't, yeah, and that, I guess thinking about it, I will get that, like, getting more granular, like making, recording, producing a record, like a song where it's drum references, like we like the tuning of this snare, or like the decay of the kick,
Yeah,
or the grind of the bass, or the tubbiness of the bass. Yeah, like those very specific instrument ones can be very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Which can often lead to conversations about like, this can kind of go back to, recording sessions. And I struggle with this all the time. Like, I think the thing that helps music the most, we kind of know when we talk about is space and not doing too many overdubs. But yet somehow when we're making a record, we do too many overdubs and give ourselves too many options. I'm as guilty as anybody.
Yeah.
But when it comes to references, like being able to pick out, like, maybe it's like something about the tone of a bass guitar in a reference. And maybe they're like, hey, our bass doesn't sound like that. Maybe it's because there's too much shit going on.
Yeah.
That's often, it's like everything around is what's clouding it.
Yeah.
And of all the instruments, bass in solo has no connection to how it sounds in an actual mix. Like it can be in solo, it can be the shittiest sounding bass. And you're like, this sounds awful. And then you put it in the mix, you hear it fretting out and this buzz and awfulness. In the mix, it actually adds to it.
That's
also,
funny.
The other way, it could be the most beautiful sounding bass, and then in the track, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So much of how instruments sound is about how they're supported by the other sounds, or not being supported because there's space to hear them.
That's very true.
That's kind of to me is almost the most important thing. It's how it all works together.
Yeah. That's why a lot of engineers make mistakes of working in solo too much and making everything sound great in solo, but that's not what matters. What matters is how it all works together when when it's not.
Sure. I mean, I'll go hunting for sure in solo.
Yeah.
And I do think I'm not a big soloer, even though probably our ears degrade a little bit over time. We do get better at what we do. And that's what I love about what we do, like compared to like, say, sports, it's like your body just can't do it after a while, but you can get better and better and better at this.
Yeah, I agree.
You're really old. And I feel like I can like project, like I can solo something and like not even problem solving and be like, kind of anticipate like, oh, I know it needs more of this to fit in the mix, and then plop it, put it back in and it works. And then maybe adjust it some more. But for a beginner, absolutely. I think soloing too much for a beginner is like, is dangerous.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Something to keep in mind as a musician when you're getting sounds and you're listening to, your initial sound of what something sounds like. It's like, that's only half the story. There's going to be, how does it work with the band? And this gets also into arrangement, I think, because people sometimes forget that things have to live together in frequency space. And so you can't pile on the same kind of register on different instruments and expect it all to work. Because it's going to step on each other.
I mean, that to me that's everything. That's everything in producing, recording, mixing.
Yeah. Arrangement.
It's everything.
Yeah. It's a lost art in some ways, but the people who know how to do it, their songs.
Whenever I have a mix I'm struggling with, and if I have a breakthrough, 99% of the time it's because I muted one thing. It's like, oh, there it is.
Yep.
Everything just feels better now, and it's making space.
Totally.
Yeah.
Good point.
And yet again, I still struggle with it. Like, I'm just as guilty as putting.
It's tempting to add more and more and more. Experimenting. You're finding.
But if you at least can peel it back in the end, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. As a mixer, is like, don't feel like you do have to use everything they gave you.
Right.
I mean, you need to hit the key points. Like obviously, if you mute the the main riff electric guitar,
Yeah.
that's going to be a problem. But if they have all these supporting other guitar tracks,
Mhm.
and maybe you don't mute them, maybe just turn them down so far that they're completely inaudible.
Yeah.
But you can say you didn't mute them; they're just really low in the mix.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they're, for all intents and purposes, muted.
Have you gotten
That's
pushback from
important.
people on those kind of moves?
No, I feel really lucky in that most people I work with, we don't agree on every single thing, but like you get in a feedback loop in your career where people want to work with you because of what you've done.
Mhm.
And so you're just kind of, you have similar taste to begin with. And then also there's another thing of like, it's so weird because, I still feel like I'm in my 20s. And I remember earlier in my career fighting to be heard, thinking I had good opinions and wanting people to take me seriously.
Right.
And I was always the younger guy in the session. Now I'm the old man,
Right.
and I'm level-headed, like people I think in general trust me, and they don't agree with me all the time. But like, if I have an idea and I'm like, hey, I think maybe we should try this, people like give it an honest listen.
Mhm.
And I'm not always right. Like I'll suggest stuff that's totally wrong, but like I'm at a point in my career where people will give me the benefit of the doubt, and they know it's not from a place of like ego. I'm trying to serve the song.
Yeah.
So as far as muting stuff and it being an issue, no. And that's the same thing with mixes. I would probably do a first mix where, say there's a song where I end up essentially muting a lot of stuff. I'd be like, hey guys, here's the song, mix 1. I think this really works, but I kept on messing around with it. Here's mix 2. I backed off the volume of a lot of stuff and kind of feels more powerful and open and lets the other parts shine.
Mhm.
Mm-mm.
And they're going to probably like that one better. Especially if you're a guitar player. I think it can be keyboards too, but generally where this stuff happens is guitars, like too many guitar overdubs,
Mhm.
like just doing layers and layers and layers.
Yeah.
It's all the guitar player. When you take out the layers of guitars, it will make the main guitar just sound bigger, more massive. The tone will just sound better.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They'll be like, yeah, I sound better now. It's not, they don't notice that you muted all these other parts that kind of didn't add anything anyways. They just notice their guitar sounds better.
Gotcha.
Percussion can be a tricky thing. Sometimes percussion can be overdone.
Sure.
And sometimes I have to get pretty brutal with muting percussion.
Okay.
And it might sound really good and add a cool feel, but still it can just,
Cover things.
sometimes you just mute some of the percussion and everything just feels more in focus. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I guess the moral of the story is, as an artist, as a musician, like, to be open to this kind of feedback from your mixer or whoever you're working with, that maybe you don't need all these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
Because,
things
Absolutely.
to work that out in pre-production.
yeah,
Maybe.
if you work on pre-production, great. But yeah, if you've unfortunately piled on too much stuff, then then your mixer is like, hey, I think it's better if we mute these things or turn them way down. I think it's important, to maintain that open mind and listen to the two options, especially if you get to hear both, and
Right.
and be like, oh yeah, 9 times out of 10 they're probably
Kind
gonna be right.
of the giving the opposite perspective of that. I think a big reason why I try to be very chill about suggestions. I've never been aggressive in my career about like, when people give me mix notes, like, I know there's some big mixers who are like, nope, this is the mix. That's all you get.
Right.
I've never been that way. But early in my career, people give me mix notes. And in my head, I'd be like, no, like that's
Right.
a bad note,
Yeah.
But then, I'd email them back like, okay, getting on it right now. And I would go in and I'd really do it. And while I'm doing it, I'm like, I can't believe they gave me these things,
Yeah.
they're totally wrong. And I'd work on it and really try to do it right. And I'd be like, oh, wait, they're right. This
Uh-huh.
works.
Mhm.
That happened to me like a million times.
Mhm. Me too. Yeah.
Again, never
Yeah.
a dick to their face, just in my head, my own little
Sure.
like dialogue in my head. Like, they don't know what they're talking about.
That's
and then
true.
like, oh, they're actually right. This made it better. That's just made me more open myself to like
Mhm.
the possibility of anything.
Yeah. It goes both ways for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
As
for
an
sure.
artist, I mean, it is your music. So if you're hearing something you feel very confident about, like,
Yeah.
speak up.
Yeah.
Just because
Yeah.
you hired someone that maybe even has great credits and all that thing, it doesn't mean that you don't have an opinion of your own that's valid.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And their opinion is the most important.
Yeah.
That's right.
It is their music.
I
so.
mean, if anything, kind of taking the opposite approach of like, we're the all knowing, engineers and we know what sound best.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the most important thing in your career is like, just always recognizing this is a service to them.
Yes.
It's their project, and always having an open mind. There's limits, obviously, to like, you just can't revise stuff forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, most important is just like them knowing that you are on their team and you're doing everything you can to help them. And it's not like I'm the domineer, I'm the dad.
Right.
What I say goes.
Yeah.
Your career is going to be, maybe you could get away with that if you made it to a certain level in the 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe early 2000s. That shit is not going to fly now, like at all. Like there's a million producers, engineers, there's people with Focusrite Scarletts in their bedrooms doing incredible work.
Yeah.
And tons of horrible work too. But there are there's so many talented people out there. Like I said, sometimes people will mock up a demo for a song and there'll be amazing stuff. I'm like, man, what'd you do? Like, I just did this in my bedroom and we end up using some of those elements in the mix. Like, there are so many talented people. And if you are just a jerk at all, like, no one's going to want to work with you.
Yeah.
That's my biggest advice more than anything.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Rarefied Recording. Oh, that's me. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my studio, Rarefied Recording, and the services I offer there. The studio itself was built from the ground up, from the masterful plans of Mr. Wes Lachaux, so it sounds fantastic both in the control room and the live room. A 32-channel Neve Genesis console holds center court and is complemented by a wide array of outboard gear, instruments, and microphones. Your music will be in good company. If you live in the San Diego area, just head on over to rarefiedrecording.com to learn more and book a tour. You can also hear examples of my tracking and mixing work. If you aren't lucky enough to live in San Diego, let me be the first to suggest the idea of a destination recording experience. San Diego is BBB approved. The Better Business Bureau? No, beaches, burritos, and beer. Even if you're not a beach person, who's to complain with temperatures that are very often in the 70s? Even the winter months are averaging in the mid-60s. And being relatively dry, rain is unlikely to get in your way. The studio is very centrally located, and you can get to just about anywhere in the area in 15 to 20 minutes, even Mexico. And while burritos are technically not a food you find in Mexico itself, San Diego has taken the concept to blissful culinary heights. You can't go hardly 100 yards here without running into a little taco shop that will be 10 times better than whatever options you have in your town. If Mexican isn't your thing, no worries. There are tons of great restaurants in the area, including a barbecue place 3 blocks away that rivals anything I've tried in Texas. And adjacent to it is one of over 150 craft breweries in San Diego. If you love beer, we gotcha. The West Coast IPA style is a specialty here, but we've got brewers doing all kinds of beers, and several have tasting rooms in walking distance. Did I mention that accommodations are available? So head on over to rarefiedrecording.com and reach out for a quote today. That's RAREFIED recording.com. And now back to the episode.
When I'm doing a mix, I always ask for their reference or whatever they've been listening to, like a rough mix. Yes. Or if I'm going into a song and I haven't decided if I'm going to mix it yet, they're asking me to. I ask for the the ref, and there's been a few times I go, "This is your mix. This is great. I can't do better than that." Or it's going to be different than that. Mm-hmm. So if you've been living with that, that's your mix.
I just got the chills you saying that. Yeah, I agree. And I feel like that's like getting back to what you're asking about mixing advice. Like, yes, always sending whatever they've been listening to the last. And as far as references, like other people's music, I'm not into that as much, but I will absolutely reference constantly your rough mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or balances, like, like where do they have the percussion pan, like what's what kind of effects did they have on the vocal? A million things. Even if I know instantly, the best thing as a mixer is when you get the rough mix and you love the song and you can hear the potential that's a shitty rough mix.
Right, yeah.
Because I know I can add value and I know they'll be happy.
Yes.
The flip side, exactly what you said, Brian. Mm-hmm. Like, I've told people that many times too.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, most of them are like, we still want you to mix.
Yeah, exactly.
And it stresses me out, but eventually I do get it better.
Yeah.
I mean, I really struggle and like it's a tough process, but same thing. I've told many people like, hey man, your mix is really good.
Yeah.
Like, are you sure? Like, I don't want to feel like I'm ripping anybody off. Like, you're going to pay me and I'm making it, maybe I'm not making it better, but maybe I'm making it 5 or 10% better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, just so you're aware, I don't know if I can beat this. And they'll be like, no, we think you can. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe you do make it 5% better, but when you're a musician making a record, 5% can seem like
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Makes a difference. Yeah. Totally.
Maybe the vocal's like 1 dB louder and the vocalist loves it all of a sudden, you know?
Yeah.
Or 1 dB quieter. Who knows?
Mhm.
It could be anything.
Right. But I think the message also for the audience is if you're finding yourself that you hired someone who's being a bit dogmatic about the whole thing, there's other people out there. You don't have to live with someone who's being a jerk and giving you the kind of cold shoulder and being like, this is your mix, forget it, you know, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I'll only do one mix, one remix.
Yeah. I mean, so many peers I have that are, you know, are doing it. And like, I'm like, I can name so many people who I think are, you know, as good as me, you know. I mean, it's endless.
Yeah.
So I think if anything, what can set you apart is just how you make people feel. It's like that. What's that quote about? Like, you know, no one remembers the exact words of an argument or who won it. You just remember how they made you feel.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know,
That's good.
well, hopefully when you get done making a record with someone, they do love the actual record.
Yes.
And they're happy, but they also remember like, like I felt heard, you know, like they made me feel like safe and exploring whatever ideas I wanted to. They didn't treat me like shit.
Yeah.
It's very important. Yeah. This kind of the experience that you're having making the art is very important as well as the outcome. But, you know, you don't want to be having a terrible time making a record. I mean, have you been in situations like this in the studio where you know that the artist is really suffering through a producer? Like, what's that like?
Yeah, it's brutal.
Oh, I'm sure Brian's got a lot.
Yeah, because you've worked with as an engineer for different producers, maybe some of them who are a bit heavy-handed, eh?
Yeah, yeah. And there's artists that are really suffering through it, and you know, the ones that I can think of in my head right now, they'll work through it and make it through it, but they're not happy.
Yeah,
and they wind up doing it with somebody else, but they
so they have to redo it because it just got so toxic, I guess.
But they probably learned a lesson through it. There's probably something that they could take from it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is maybe a genius in their own way. You know, Phil Spector was kind of probably a total jerk too, and like, you know, but
I mean, he is in prison for murder.
Yeah, it's a very important thing is that you to find someone that you gel with, and part of that is probably meeting them first and kind of, you know, that initial sort of relationship that you somehow can build before you even get in the studio. I think that's pretty important to know that you're getting in with someone that you're going to gel with. Yeah,
I mean, this is a big switch, but I mean, we probably all spend too much time on our phones.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Like, I do feel like it's not even intentional, but like, you know, your personality can come through on social media.
Yeah.
And I know where I'm going with this, but like, I feel like sometimes people get to know you online.
Yeah.
And like, oh, they seem like generally a positive person, you know? So if you're an engineer and you're just always posting like crazy negative stuff or harsh stuff or just, you know, God forbid, like racist, awful stuff, you know, like anyone can look up anyone. I mean, that's the first thing I do in reverse. First thing I do when someone messages me about doing anything, I'm instantly going online to look them up.
Yeah, for sure.
Like instantly.
Yeah, I do too.
I want to see if they're like, you know, like a million different things.
The flip side, though, maybe is sometimes people don't present themselves the same way on social media than they are in person.
That's true, a little bit.
Right.
So you don't totally know for sure.
Yeah.
A little more brave.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe a meeting with them in some way, whether even if it's a remote, would make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, that's just kind of related to that. Like I try every single thing I work on, I try to at least do a story on Instagram or a post, depending on what it is. And I'm like, it ends up taking a long time. I try to tag every single person involved.
Yeah.
You know, like we all want credit and it stinks when you get left out. Like it's going to happen to you in your career, but like, I don't like the feeling and I don't want anyone else to have that feeling either. So I really make an effort, like every single thing to like, you know, just tag all the people involved, give them their little credits. I feel like, you know, they're kind of, you know, just they're gone quickly, especially with stories, but like a lot of like credits kind of live online. Like I can't go online. Like I might hear a record I love, and I can't find the credit on All Music.
Yeah.
There's no Wikipedia entry.
Mhm.
So I'll just go to the band's like Instagram and scroll through for the posts for the album release, and hopefully they tag the mixer. A lot of times they didn't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like that's one way to find it. I know it's like very few people care about this,
Mhm.
but people you work with in the music world, they do. So I
Yes.
just think that's something that can like help, you know, just make sure you credit people.
Yeah.
It's come up many times on the podcast.
That was all.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
That-
would appreciate it. Yes.
That was always the thing back in the day when you're just starting out. The credit is more work, you know. It's
Yeah.
more important than the money, actually.
Well, it is.
Keeps
Yeah.
you going. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. I remember early in my career, like stressing about that, like on certain things, like knowing I've earned a credit, but like knowing they probably won't give it to me. And do I bring it up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Now that I'm older, like it kind of turns out in a wash. And like sometimes people are really cool and they give you credit where they really didn't need to.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
Yeah.
And then other times you remember the ones where you got stuck,
Yeah.
but hopefully it's nothing that you know, is like really could have benefited your career.
Yeah.
How have you seen interpersonal dynamics of a band affect the recording?
I mean, I think they're always going to affect the recording. Like I come from a bigger family. Like I'm the middle of 4 kids, and I feel like I'm a sensitive person to like interpersonal dynamics.
Mhm.
And being in a band, like I just can't imagine. It's like the toughest thing in the world. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
most bands are just barely getting by. Like even if you see them online, they're playing big shows. Like they're still slumming it in a van. Like life is hard, and there's going to be tension. They may all love each other deeply, but there's almost always some kind of like conflict
Mhm.
between band members.
Yeah.
And hopefully they can put it aside. But that's something, I mean, just the whole psychology of producing, so much of it is that, and knowing when to say something, when not to. And that's endless. Knowing that 2 people aren't getting along and trying to bridge the gap,
Mhm.
or yeah. I could talk forever about that.
Yeah.
Or not, because it's hard to even describe, because it's such a like mental, emotional, like just in the moment, like noticing the tone of someone's voice when they talk to someone else.
Mhm.
And like, oh, there's some beef there.
Mhm.
Like there's all these like sub-perceptual little things
Mhm.
that weigh on you.
Yeah.
I'm never more tired in my life than after a day of producing in the studio. And it's almost always because I'm in like, not just the music, I'm like constantly clocking everyone's emotions.
Wow.
Like not like, oh, I need to pay. It just happens.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that person just made an offhand comment about so-and-so's tone or part, like, you know, and it's endless. That's why it makes, for me, mixing something I produced, I always mix what I produce, and I'm always happy with how it turns out. But it takes longer because there's these little memories you have when you're mixing. Like, start turning up a guitar and you're like, that sounds good. And then you're like, oh, I remember when so-and-so said that part kind of sucked.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, we back off. And then,
Wow.
you know,
That's funny.
yeah.
Maybe there's an aspect of prepping for the studio that is band doing sort of a therapy before they go in the studio, because these things do affect the sessions, right? I mean,
yeah, they do, but it can also add, you know, it's never not going to be that way.
It's impossible to
I've never been in
completely.
any kind of like fist fight, like really, really, really toxic stuff. I think like substance abuse stuff is like becoming less and less of a problem. I feel like people drink less now than they used to. I feel like every year that goes by, like there's just less substances in the studio. It's also the economics of it. Like recording is expensive, and like, you know, it's not the 80s with $1 million budget and a mountain of cocaine.
Right.
Like you're not going to camp out in the studio for 3 months or a year or a month. You know, we have 10 days to cut the basics on 10 songs.
That would be very nice to have 10 days. Yeah.
There's just not time for that.
Yeah.
So, and there's always going to be like, you know, interpersonal stuff. I haven't had any major issues, you know, little things. Sometimes it's worse than others, but nothing that I'm ever surprised at.
Okay. So it's all been within reason.
When I look back on everything, I'm like, yeah, I guess I've been pretty lucky. I mean, in the moment, like I hate conflict, it's one thing to disagree about like a tambourine part, but like true, when you can tell two people are like really upset with each other like that I feel that bothers me. I don't like it. But then when I zoom out afterwards, I'm like, hey, they just came off a tour. They're sharing a hotel room. They're sleep deprived.
Yeah.
They're hot sick all the time. Like, of course they were at each other's throats,
Yeah.
There's a lot of stressors being in a band because of all these factors, just kind of scraping by and being together so much and not being in your comfort zone, being at home because you're on tour too much or whatever it is. So, yeah.
And it can add too. That sometimes that fire can also like add someone an inspired performance.
A little intensity in the situation.
Yeah, like sometimes you actually need that. Like, vocalist gets a little pissed off.
Yeah.
The song's cut. There's a pissed off song they need to sing on.
There you go. So make use of it if you have those situations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Find the songs that could benefit from the depression or the pissed off anger.
Yeah.
I have to keep chuckling because you're making all these memories come back that I remember being in the studio where some pretty crazy moments.
So were they able to be used to advantage, or were they kind of shut stuff down?
I think it depends on which one I would think about, but for the most part, I've always been an engineer recording or a mixer. So being a mixer, you're away from it generally. But when you're in the recording room, you're in there recording with the band, and there's a producer and all that kind of stuff. So the pressure's not on me. I'm almost like in the audience watching everything unfold. Yeah. I'm not under fire. I'm not the guy that has to be the peacemaker or anything like that.
Right.
But I also like knowing you, Brian, like, I think you naturally are, even I think your presence of like being the cool head, like ends up being like the thing that can help.
Well, they do generally come over to me and talk to me after, like it's all been kind of worked out. They both will come to me and tell me their stories separately. Like,
interesting.
It's just probably because I'm the witness in the room or something.
Yeah,
they
sort
feel
of
like
a neutral party.
A need to express what's going on.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
So I don't know what the message is to the audience, but I think there's something in there about if you can kind of work out some of these things before you get in the studio, or put them aside, or make use of the tensions. These are ways to maybe deal with the interpersonal dynamics that are maybe happening within your band, because they're inevitable in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I guess if that's part of the main thing of the podcast is it's younger, or anyone who's like interested in going to the studio and going with you. If you really know you're having issues with someone else, like you need to address it. And maybe it won't be completely resolved, but like, you got to have a dialogue. Like, it's expensive for anyone to record. Like, you do not want that to come to a head while you're spending all that money.
Right. And
it's probably going to come to a head because if you're in a band with someone, this is like heightened emotion. It's the most important thing you do. Like, some people, it's a mix of like what are your record and your live show, but the record happens way less often. It's like, I got to remind myself that, like bands are, if they're lucky, they make a record every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
So people can have intense emotions. Everything's going to get magnified. So if you've got problems with someone, you need to talk.
Yeah.
Beforehand. Yeah. To try to hedge off any issues that might come to a head in the studio, because it is such a emotionally heated, intense and stressful time, and we want it to be fun. Ideally it's fun and everyone's having a great time, and that joy will be expressed in the music. And of course, not every song is joyful. So this is when you can take advantage of the negative stuff maybe, but I think overall you'll have a better time if you're able to work out some of these things ahead of time. And
and as far as having a good time, I think that the thing that can help everything is just, I feel everyone who, bands have their in jokes. You get in the studio, just having a sense of humor about everything. Like, laughing heals everything.
That's true.
So just trying to make things light.
Yeah.
Jokes,
Yeah, if you're all on the same page of like kind of poking each other in a fun way, that's cool. Yeah. And we've talked about how it can be uncool if like everyone's really just ganging up on one person in a mean way. That's really bad scene.
Yeah. I think the most depressing thing I've experienced is when you make a record, you're proud of it, they release it and immediately break up.
Mhm.
Or
Ugh.
they break up, but hey, we just broke up, but we're putting out our album in 2 weeks. Like,
It's really
that's
sad.
just the worst
Mhm.
thing imaginable. And it comes from those kind of situations. Like, you gotta,
Yeah.
whatever's causing the problem, you gotta address it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think I've seen that happen to me too, where it's like, I just work with them and no, they're gone. They're done.
Yeah.
Because of the studio session, not because of me, but just the nature of the recording has just brought things to the head and people were like,
Yeah.
ugh, can't deal with this.
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly that would be the last straw, like
Mhm.
whatever was happening,
Mhm.
you know, that was just the final thing.
Mhm.
I've heard people compare it to, like, you know, people who try to save a marriage by having a baby, you know,
Right.
like, we should probably break up. Let's just make a record. And it's,
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Danny.
Yeah.
If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
my website's just my name, Danny Kalb, KALB.com. Or my Instagram, it's the same thing. I think it's, you know, /Danny Kalb. You can send me a message on Instagram, say hi. I have my email on my website. You can connect through there. If you want to say hi, that's fine. But if you really want to, like, talk about, you know, working together, finding my email is probably the best way. My Instagram messages just get buried so fast with just, you know, sending out dumb memes to people. And all of a sudden, just messages get lost in Instagram.
Gotcha. Yeah. So do the professional thing in email.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Which I'm starting to worry more and more. That's like, it's like the old man thing.
I know. Yeah. A lot of people, they don't really do email anymore. It's kind of like writing a check.
Like,
it's like, what's a check?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Danny. And thanks everyone out there for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah. Great to see you,
good to see
Danny.
that.
Yeah, man.
Too.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm out there again soon.
Yeah, for sure. That's our show for today, folks. Thanks so much for listening to Prepping for the Studio. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to your podcast from. And don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends. Episode info and my ebook, A Musician's Guide to the Recording Studio, are available at preppingforthestudio.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out there. Prepping for the Studio was recorded and edited at Rarefied Recording by me, Roy Silverstein. Theme music written by myself and Ariel Levine, performed and recorded by Ariel Levine. Many thanks to my co-host Brian Scheuble and you. Best of luck to you and your musical endeavors. And remember, as Alexander Graham Bell once said, before anything else, preparation is the key to success. We'll see you next time.